It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me. Craig, shut up. Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, the dynamic duo of Gina Carr and Terry Brock explain their new book, Clout Matters. Thanks for joining me this week. Today's topic is somewhat controversial in the world of social media. You know, some think Clout is a great measuring tool for others to judge someone's social media influence and presence. That would be Terry and Gina. While others feel it's a bit arbitrary and it doesn't give you the real deal or put their numbers into context. Personally, I don't know. I have no idea. I've heard stories of speakers not being booked because their Clout score was too low. I don't know why that would be. Why it's A, too low, or B, who cares? It must be some kind of influence to some people. And yet, I have benefited from my own Clout score twice. I can tell you right now that I've got a 67 score going on right today. And thanks to that number, I have gotten 2 free passes to Gravity, the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock, in 3D about 2 weeks before it came out. And it was amazing, so go see it. They're not a sponsor, but if they'd like to spend money on the podcast to advertise, I will certainly take it. I was also able to get a free one-day pass to Delta's members club lounge thingy, Admirals Club or the Wingman Society or whatever it's called, in Chicago, and I had a 4-hour layover. It was a huge help. But I have no idea how my score got that high. I don't have thousands of followers on my social media, and interactions are not that consistent. But it seems like it's a pretty good score, and the podcast is at a 40 or so, but then it's all automated and has little to no interaction with others. So when I heard Gina and Terry wrote this book called Clout Matters, How to Engage Customers, Boost Your Digital Influence, and Raise Your Clout Score for Success, I knew I wanted to get the skinny. I usually don't focus on just one application or one service, but this Clout thing involves so many other services and is always getting attention. I thought it couldn't hurt to ask them, and it sure didn't. They certainly came right on board, and Gina and Terry are great guests that you're about to hear, but they're also really cool human beings. But before we get to the video, I want to try and boost my own Clout score. So follow the podcast at Reality Check Pod, myself at Price_points. We have Google Plus pages, a Facebook page. I'm Craig Price 47 on Instagram, where I post a lot of my hobby pics, not just random crap from my phone, but from a real camera, and people seem to enjoy it. So we'll see if my Clout score jumps up now that I've given you all this information, but I know one way you can start pushing your score up right this second, by listening to this week's guests, Gina Carr and Terry Brock. I've been using Clout. Clout just kind of showed up one day, a couple years ago. It wasn't like someone could go to Clout. All of a sudden, I got like a notice that, hey, your Clout score is X amount. And I'm like, wait a second. And so I went to Clout, and it seems to be like the very first rating system, because it used to be just how many Twitter follows you had. And then it was just how many likes your page had. But then you couldn't figure out, since you were everywhere, how that works. So if you can explain Clout and what it is first, I think it would help some people.
Clout is a way for people to try to make sense of it all. You know, I like to look at social media as often like you're in a rowboat, Craig, and you're out at the sea. It's a dark and stormy night. You're being tossed around because we're wondering, what do we do? What do we do in this thing called social media? But Clout is that lighthouse that's over there in the distance, and it's showing you if you do these things, you'll be right. Because we've seen people that game the system with adding followers, you know, with Twitter. Mm-hmm. So you can get it and you buy a bunch. Well, that's not legit.
Yeah, you go to Fiverr and you pay $5 and they put 100 or 200 or 1,000 or whatever.
Exactly.
And they just, that was kind of tragic when Twitter finally got their act together, because all of a sudden my followers dropped because they got rid of all the porn bots. And I'm like, no, I need that to inflate. Not that I had them, I just naturally got them, because I don't have many followers and I don't actively pursue them. But it was like when you don't have many and they take away 50, it's a big,
no, not that. Yeah, what are we going to do? But the thing is, we realize, okay, that was complete nonsense.
Yeah.
There's actually a more colorful military term that we won't use right now.
Oh, you can if you'd like. You feel free to talk any way you feel comfortable.
Want,
yes, that's right.
But we can say, no, pure balderdash, or something like that. But then we got, it's all there. But so we wanted something that says, hey, let's get a little bit more than just my gut reaction says that this person's more reliable and more influential than this one. And so that's how Clout was born, out of that desire.
Well, and Terry has really addressed one primary usage of Clout, which people really don't talk about enough, and that is gauging and assessing your own social media activity. How effective are you? How well are you doing? And that's where the lighthouse analogy comes in. As well, it's used, this is a great new tool for brands to use to identify people who are influencers who are knowledgeable and passionate about the topics that are important to their customers.
Yeah, because I was going to say, who's looking at the Clout score? Because if I'm looking at it, it doesn't. It's nice. I get an idea of how I am compared to another person, but I'm not using it to judge other speakers, other than that person's got more media presence, which is not going to be uncommon. So who is the target audience for Clout that is going to make these kind of decisions?
Their real target market is brands. Brands, people who are looking to find the best way to utilize their advertising. Because in the past, you go out and you want to reach a market, you'd buy radio, television, newspaper, and you would do the old spray and pray method. Let's get everybody out there and hope somebody's there. But instead, we found out it's much better. We trust people that we like and admire much more than any advertisement. So, Craig, for instance, if you're an expert in oogly booglies, and I'm really...
And I am. I've been oogly boogly from way back.
I've seen that. You're really good at oogly booglies. And I really respect you, and I like oogly booglies. Now, if somebody reaches you, and you say, you need to buy the new oogly boogly woogie wogger, and I go, Craig's recommending that oogie wogger, I'm going to go ahead, more likely to buy it. And it's a better use of dollars for the vendor.
And in older days, and still currently, companies, brands would hire spokespeople. They'd spend millions of dollars on a Tiger Woods to market their product, and we see where that got them.
Well, if you're marketing, condoms, that's probably a good guy. But but if you're marketing, family friendly things, he shot that was gone out the window. Almost literally, I think his wife broke the window with
He's our neighbor, by the way, in Orlando.
What neighborhood do you live in?
What we're seeing now, though, is the dawning of the age of the citizen influencer. So instead of reaching out to these celebrities and paying them millions of dollars, you can reach out to influencers, people who are influential within your target market. Let's say that you make baby seats for cars. Well, who's going to be influential? There's a whole army of mommy bloggers out there who have mommies who are listening to them and acting on their every recommendation, or at least checking it out seriously. And these people have already established credibility over the years about this subject. And so when they make a recommendation, they have tremendous trust. People take action, and this has just really changed and leveled the playing field.
And my guest today is the lovely Gina Carr and Terry Brock.
You forgot lovely.
No, I didn't forget it. It was painfully obvious that you're distinguished.
Distinguished. Okay, we'll go with that.
Which in my generations program, I go, that means old, but it doesn't, because you don't have the gray sideburns.
He's a real old guy.
No, you don't have the gray sideburns.
Yeah,
you don't have
right.
sideburns.
I do have a very good haircut.
And I have to say this, and this is all honesty, and I'm not being sarcastic. You have a lovely shaped head.
A lovely shaped head.
You're a bald gentleman.
You'll take that as a good
and it is. Because some people shave their head, and all of a sudden you find there's craters, and there's where they were hit with a golf ball when they were a kid, or there's a big mound of something.
And you're thinking, Fred, that comb-over look was even better.
The unborn twin that you cannibalized when you were in the womb.
Exactly. The one that was aborted there in the operation.
But you have a beautiful, lovely head. So I want to make sure people know I'm trying to paint a picture.
And so now we could say a face made for radio or podcasting.
Well, you definitely have a lovely voice.
You have to go over to terrybrock.com and go, what does this guy look like?
So, your picture will be on the website, but what I want to do is start with Clout in two ways. First off, I want to talk about Clout as an established person, because a lot of us found Clout while we were neck deep in social media, learning our own way on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever we were using, and then all of a sudden Clout appeared. And then later on we'll talk about building up something from the ground up. So I just found Clout. I log on. I've been doing this for a while, and I'd say I'm a 44. What does that mean? How do they get the number? What does the number mean? And how do they get to that number? Because some people think it might be arbitrary, but there's actually some kind of formula that is secret, obviously proprietary to some degree, but there's some things that you can figure out.
Well, correct. They have a very proprietary algorithm that recalculates every day billions and billions of data points. And even for a single user, I think there's 400 different data points that they'll calculate for a single user. So with that, they're counting different networks. The primary ones right now are Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are the ones that are the most significant. But there's several others that they will incorporate if you have attached them to your Clout account. Now, here's news in case your audience doesn't know. If you have a Twitter account, you automatically have a Clout score. And it's public, and anybody can see it. And they can assess your ability to be influential online.
So when you say these data points, I mean, is Twitter weighted more than, say, LinkedIn, which I know is attached, or Google Plus?
It actually is right now, and that's because Twitter is a more interactive community. I think they still have way more users than either of those others, and certainly based on the amount of activity and sharing that goes on, social sharing, that's a big factor of how Clout determines what are the networks that they're counting the most.
So is there at least a minimum number that when you start going, hey, now I'm at least in the game? Because if you're 22, I'm sorry, you're not really relevant. But if you get to be, like, I finally found something great about it, and we'll talk about this in a minute, about the perks. I was able to get I believe it was through you, I was able to get a day at the Chicago United American Airlines, because I don't have one. The stop, I had spent 3.5 hours on a layover one day, and thanks to my Clout score, which was above 60, I was able to use it.
Well, if you're above 60, you're in the top 5%.
Woohoo! Oh, yeah, suck on it, everybody.
Dude.
Yeah.
You know, Clout score is relative to your industry. So let's say that you're an engineer in a very specialized area. Your Clout score may only be in the 40s or 50s, and but it may be way higher than most of your competition, or your peers. So it is somewhat relative. But in general today, for a thought leader, for someone who's an author, speaker, business owner who's trying to establish themselves, having a score above 60 is certainly a goal.
So like an individual or business owner. Now, if you're a brand, like I'm Pepsi or Kentucky Fried Chicken, you would assume that should be much higher than 60.
Yes, it should be. Although many brands.
Well, I know, but I'm just
because they're not doing social media well.
Right. They haven't caught on the bandwagon because they're still, sending coupons in the mail in paper form. Where now I love social media because what they do is they start learning your trends, and then they give you coupons for things that you actually use. Because we get custom printed coupons from our Kroger. Not that they have a sponsor for the show, but I would gladly take them.
Which they should be, and there would be an opportunity for them if they wanted to contribute to the show.
Oh, absolutely. We take all sponsors, all cash, all donations, and even brown paper bags under a park bench.
Yeah, that works really well. Fungible.
Yeah. So if you've got that 60 as an individual, you're doing fairly well.
You are. And a couple of things that I didn't mention earlier, they're counting your online influence. And when it started, that was all that Clout counted. But now they do include offline influence. And they measure that in a few different ways. They do look at your LinkedIn profile, and they're looking at your educational credentials. Yeah. They're looking at your work experience. If you've had a significant position with a big company, that counts more than someone who's had a significant position with a small company. Or just a solo entrepreneur. But still, if you're CEO of your own company, that might count more than being secretary of the company.
Please tell me they're weighing recommendations much more than endorsements, because if you know LinkedIn, they've got two different things. A recommendation where a human being has to actually type, think, and write a recommendation, that's value. But endorsements, I've got people who've endorsed me for things that I don't even do or have never done, and I know they've never seen me do. So it's almost worthless.
Yes, recommendations do count in on that offline influence. Okay. As well, Wikipedia counts significantly towards offline influence.
Oh, no.
And it's really hard to get a Wikipedia page.
I have one. I'm the serial killer. If you look up Craig Price, they have a serial killer.
So you're the guy.
I'm the guy, yeah.
Officers, please come in. Get him. Here he is.
The Warwick slasher, so yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, Wikipedia pages require that you be notable. And Wikipedia definition of noteworthy is that you've been prominently featured in other publications, offline or online, serious publications like Success Magazine or USA Today or Wall Street Journal, things like that. And not just where...
Dave's blog.
Not just your buddy's blog,
Yeah.
and not that you've sent articles to these things, but that they've actually mentioned you in a prominent way. Now, people can be in Wikipedia for very famous reasons that are not very positive, but...
yes.
And then once you have a Wikipedia page, you need to attach it. So that is something that we found it's really hard for people to get pages, and so we do help clients get those if they need them.
Now, just a real quick off topic as far as Wikipedia pages for folks, because how do you even get one of those? So if you want to enhance your Clout score, how does that process real quickly? Because I know we're not here to talk about Wikipedia, but if we want to add that to our Clout credentials, is there a process that's fairly simple, or is it kind of complex?
It's definitely not simple.
Okay.
And it's you read the Wikipedia instructions, it's very confusing. They say you can't write it yourself. You can't hire one of your employees to write it. There does seem to be a provision that you can hire it to be done, but then it's really hard to find people who will do it. So because we couldn't find people who would do it, that's why we offer it as a service now.
Because I just know that it's one of those things that if you're going to try to maintain everything, because it's easy to change. That's what I understand. It's easy to change an entry on somebody's Wikipedia page.
Anybody can change it.
Oh, that's what I mean. I can go in and say, if you have a page, Terry Brock, that you were born in Canada and that you grow hemp in the back of your house. And you won't know until you go and check your web page.
Yeah, which is a good idea to keep checking your online profile wherever it is.
So the fact that it's so easy to change, people start to assume it must be real easy to get a page. But it's not. So
It's actually easy to put a page up, but for it to
they'll take it down right away.
Yeah, they take it down right away.
So we've got we're starting to grow our presence. We've been online, but what about you've got something new? Like when I started the podcast, I started a Twitter handle for the podcast, and all I do is promote past episodes. There's no spamming. There's no anything. The only thing that's there. So if you are new to the show and you follow the Twitter feed of Reality Check Pod, there's a plug. You will get past episodes, and so if you missed anything or something jumps up, oh, hey, I remember listening to Terry and Gina a couple months ago. There it is. I'll listen to it.
See, and really that's the best way to market, because right now, when you can give rich content that people want, that's the best way to get your message across, rather than, hi, we're wonderful, come over and buy our stuff. We don't want to hear that. Matter of fact, we've got shields built up to withstand a lot of that. What we want instead is somebody that answers our question, like keywords are going to be important. I mean, this is basic search engine optimization, but it now factors into Clout very strongly, so that we go, oh, look at this. Bob over here has a Clout score of this, but Sally's is much higher. She's really much more of an expert and has delivered objectively much more quality content than anyone else has. Therefore, we ought to listen to her.
But if you're just starting out, how do you get? Because you start the Twitter handle tomorrow. It's brand new because, like I said, maybe you're starting a new book that may be coming out. Hint, hint. There's a plug coming soon. And there's a new book coming out, and you want to start a Twitter specific handle for that. But when you start day one, you don't get. You got to get followers and all these things. So is there a good quality process that should work most of the time to get you up to speed fairly quickly?
Yeah, I think the best way to look at it is think about you just graduated from undergraduate school. Okay, you did well, but you're not going to be CEO of the large company because
read my resume.
Instantly. Even though many want to. Many MBAs say, hey, we ought to be CEO because I just got it. What you do is you gradually do it, but you consistently, regularly put out good, quality, compelling content in your blog, on Facebook, on other forms of social media, and then you start building a following. It's kind of like, hey, I want to be friends with you. Let's be best buddies real fast. We just met, but no, it doesn't work that way. You gradually do it, and really, that's what social media is all about. See, Clout is really just helping you to be a very good social media citizen. How to do social media right. That's where Clout comes in. So it does take time, but it doesn't have to be years. It might be a few weeks, a few months, but consistently keep punching out good quality content that addresses a need that the market has, and you're going to do much better in Clout.
Yeah, because I was going to see, is there a time limit? Because, how far back do they go? So if someone's been on since the internet was invented. Al Gore is who invented the internet, as we all know.
Yes, of course.
His Clout score should be amazing because they can go back for years. Or the inventor of Twitter, he had a leg up on everybody. But is there a time frame that they focus on, or is it just if you have 10,000 tweets in 5 days, is that going to help? Or?
Actually, you doing the tweets doesn't count. It's what others respond to you, and the number is 90 days. They've got a rolling average of 90 days. So you figure, okay, give yourself 3 months. It's not a long time, but it's not going to be tomorrow. So you consistently keep punching that out, and then that will make a big difference.
What happens when you go on vacation?
Well, when you go on vacation, it can slow down. An example, what can happen to relationships? Social media is about relationships. You got in a relationship with someone, and you see them, but then you don't see them for 6 months,
Sounds
for a year,
good.
for 5 years. That relationship's not going to be as strong. That's where social media comes
Wait a minute, I thought distance made the heart grow fonder.
It does, but the
Not in
long
social
time
media.
makes it forget.
Yeah, but so if I'm going to go to Alaska and if I go for a week where I can't use my phone, I can't tweet, I don't have an automated process set up because sometimes automated tweets. I'm afraid if I go out of town, there'll be a terrorist attack, and I'll be tweeting about, hey, we've got a blowout sale, and there's
Yeah,
a bomb
you don't
went
use
off,
that word.
and I don't want to be there. So
That's a very good point.
So I will be able to at least recover that missing week in 90 days or so, because when I get back to my consistency, and at some point that missing week will drop off the chart, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a moving average, so it
Okay.
stays there. But it's the same as if you and I knew each other, say, in 1920. We get to know each other, and then you leave for 6 months. Chances are our relationship might not be as strong after you're gone for 6 months, a year, 2 years, than it is if we're seeing each other on a daily basis.
Hey, Charlie, I'm back to England. It'll take a boat 6
That's
months
right.
later.
That's right. And they didn't have a lot of jets going back.
No.
To that point, Craig, my recommendation would be that you do set some auto tweets and some auto posts.
just
And
make
you
sure
use
they're-
great tools like Hootsuite. I love Buffer app, BUFFERAPP.com. Those are some great tools. IfthisthenThat.com, IFTTT.
That's a new one. I got the first two.
IFTTT.com is one of the most powerful tools out there now, and very few people know about it.
What does it do?
It allows you to automate various processes. So if this happens, then that happens. So for example, I say if it's Friday at 10 a.m., then put out this tweet that says, hey, these are my fabulous speaker friends, Terry Brock and Craig Price and other people. And so then those get retweeted, and that gets a lot of good clout use.
Oh,
so I set it, forget it, never have to think about it again. I use that tool for, and it allows you to do that for many different things. Let's say you have important client emails that are coming in. You can set a text message to notify you that a client email has come in. So really important tool.
You just cleared up. I follow someone who every so often it's a random day. It's Wednesday. Have you followed me on Google Plus yet? Mm-hmm. And then he'll have the exact list Friday. And it's like, I can't believe he's cutting and pasting and doing that every day. Or if he's setting it up, because it is random. So I think he's using that.
Yeah, he probably
That's
is.
great.
It's a really good tool. So I would do that. And then you've got a good point, because nowadays we do have these terrorist attacks and crises and tornadoes and terrible things that happen. Have somebody, an assistant back home, an editor, an assistant that has access to your accounts. And if something happens, let them push a button that says pause.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of the things I think that relates to is you want a system. You want a strategy. So it's not something that's haphazard. In the past, we've thought, well, I'll just do this. I should do this. I should work harder. No, have a strategy and realize you probably cannot do it all on your own. You get other people that are going to help you, and you think, well, gee, I don't want to hire somebody. Well, that's okay. This is why God invented India.
And this is also leads me to another thing that happens on Clout, that you can give the K score. Is that what it's called? K points. You can give Ks. Plus Ks. That's you guys are the experts. That's why I asked. You can give. It's almost like an endorsement in someone's skills. Like, say, with you guys, I would be endorsing you in Clout as experts in Clout. And does that help you in your?
It does count towards Clout score. It doesn't count a whole lot, because that's something that can sort of be easily gamed. You can get together with your buddies and say, give me a plus K, I'm going to give you a plus K.
That's the only time I really do it, is because someone will unload a bunch of plus Ks on me, often in things I'm not. Again, this is like the endorsement deals in LinkedIn, and so I'm like, I'll tweet something. Like, I will tweet, hey, the Boston Celtics won, the only Boston Celtics tweet in the year, and someone will give me a K plus in the Boston Celtics, like I'm an expert.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we got to look at what it is. An endorsement, as I grew up, was a whole different thing. It's like I'm saying, I know Craig Price. He's a great guy for this. That's what an endorsement was. We'd write out a letter, etc. Right. Today, I use an analogy that it's really more like, Craig, you and I see each other in a busy restaurant, and you're way over there, I'm here, and we just kind of see each other, and we wave.
Heads up. Hey.
That's kind of like, hey, how you doing? It would be wrong for me to just ignore you and look away. You think, hey, what's the matter with Terry? But if I look over there, I just kind of wave to you, and then maybe later I drop you a note and just say, hey, it was great to see you over at the restaurant today. Hope you're doing well.
So it's the digital Sup?
Exactly. What's up? Hey, what's happening?
All right.
Man?
I got
That's the
it.
kind of thing. And if you look at it that way, you realize it's okay. And it's like giving a plus K is kind of like saying, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Hi.
If I saw you saying, go back to the 1920s again, 1920, we're at the Chamber of Commerce. And I walk by and go, how's the general store doing, Craig? Doing fine. Great. Nice to see you. We'll have to catch up sometime. And I walk on.
Okay.
That's kind of what it's like.
Well, see, like with LinkedIn, the endorsements don't go to a score or anything, so it doesn't matter. Where I often felt guilty or obligated, and it was only for people I actually believed in. So it's not like random people would plus me and I'd go, oh, I'm going to plus them back. But good people that I know who are friends of mine, who I know are quality folks, who past guests of the show, and they do that, and I'm like, well, now I see it, and I go, oh, that reminds me, let me go give them some.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if it really was actually helping them, or it's just very tiny, 0.01%, and it's just kind of taking up 3 minutes of my time.
Yeah, it's just a real simple thing, and it's something that's nice. It's just saying hello to
Okay.
somebody like that. Versus if we say, hey, we saw you, let's get together, and we really do get together then for lunch and talk.
All right. One of the other things, like I said, the perks, because I want to get, that's another thing, because I want to talk about the K+, but these are the only things that I usually look at when I go in. So I want you to expand on some other stuff as well, because I'm sure there's things that are hidden and I'm not even using. But there's perks. And at what point, for a long time, most of the perks were in cities that I didn't live in and I couldn't get to, or my score wasn't high enough. So how are they running the perks? How do if you want to put a perk on, if you're a business and you want to be a perk? Explain perks and what we can do with them and how we can be involved in them.
Well, if a brand is interested in offering a perk, they need to contact Clout, and Clout can set that up, or they can work with a consultant to help devise some sort of program. But they happen in all different cities. A great example that we like to share is how a brand can use this is when Chevrolet was launching the Chevy Volt. They wanted to find people who were passionate about cars, who were passionate about the environment, and who were very influential on social media. So they worked with Clout to determine people who met that criteria, people who responded, who were offered that perk and responded. They might have gotten the Chevy Volt for a whole weekend to drive around and use, and then if they wanted to tweet about it, they could. If they didn't want to, post about it, they didn't have to, but a lot of people were so excited, so they did. So it was, really good promotion for them. So
the perks can often be targeted by city. So, like I know that I was offered Blackhawks tickets because I had been to Chicago, and so I guess they had seen me, so they kind of figured I was in Chicago. I didn't have the ability to cash in on them because my score wasn't high enough. But also they also seem to be timed. So you only have a limited amount of time to claim the perk. Because I've often seen a great perk, and I was on my phone, but I wasn't able to claim the perk, and then I get home. I claim it, I go to it, and it's all, they're out because they had a limited amount. So how does that work?
Well, yeah, there's different time limits, and a lot of perks do disappear quickly because there's some really good ones. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started paying attention to Clout in the beginning is I saw these big, major companies, major brands, Disney, Audi, General Motors, Sony, serious big companies that know Procter & Gamble, that know what they're doing with marketing dollars, and they were doing these perks. And so I said, so I need to pay attention to this.
So if there's one last thing, because we're running out of time, and I really appreciate you guys being here, and I know that we could go on for another 35 minutes. We're not going to. You're okay. We're going to get you.
Okay,
get you
35
we're going to get you something to eat.
Yeah.
We're going to get you something to eat, Terry. Don't
Eating
worry.
is good.
Yeah. But what is the one thing that we haven't already talked about Clout? Maybe something a secret use that not everybody's aware of, or maybe they just ignore it and they don't realize how valuable it is.
I think there's a lot of secrecy that people think is there, but if you look at it, it's really just a simple way to be a good social media citizen. It's a way to do social media right in the midst of that. Let me go back to my analogy of you're in this little rowboat and you're getting tossed around at sea, dark of night, and you see the lighthouse ahead. So you do these things of helping others, really contributing value. And remember, Clout doesn't depend on how many tweets you send out. It's how much interaction you generate from others, how many retweets you get, how many mentions, how many likes and comments on Facebook.
Plus ones have work as well.
Yeah, the plus ones on Google Plus and the plus Ks. There's a few things, and of course that's in a book that we know about that we just wrote. So
and that's where we were going to get right to it. Thankfully, since there's so many more things that they can possibly. But Gina, did you have one more thing?
I just wanted to close and say that it's a noisy world, and people increasingly need to make decisions quickly based on a lot of information. And the Clout score is going to continue to emerge Clout Score and other social scoring systems are going to continue to emerge as shortcuts to streamline the decision process for job hiring, for who are they going to make book advances to, different things that are going to happen. Much like the days before credit scores, those decisions were fuzzy. And credit scoring system, although a lot of people said it'd never work when it came out, it's a very important factor nowadays. And same thing is going to happen with Clout Score. It's going to become just a more part of decision making for executives and people who are making decisions, and it's going to become more of a part of everyone's lives.
Well, like I said, you've got a book coming out. Tell us where we can find you and the book.
Okay, the best place to find us is at Clout Matters, KloutMatters.com. And that'll also give you a link to our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group where you can go in and ask questions and talk to people about Clout. There's a lot of experts in there that can help you, including us. And that's a great place to join us.
And I want to thank again the lovely Gina Carr, the lovely Terry Brock.
And thank you very much, lovely Craig Price.
I can't wait until you guys start retweeting this. Then my Clout Score through the roof, baby.
Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop. Raise the roof, raise the roof. That's our show for this week. Thanks again for Gina and Terry for their time. I certainly appreciate it. Off to the electronics store to find parts for the mixer, or there won't be a podcast next week. Email Craig at speakercraigprice.com with comments, guest suggestions, and questions. Like the Facebook page and the Google Plus pages. And subscribe to the newsletter at realitycheckpodcast.com. See you next week. I hope.